become who we want to be as individuals. And at the end of the day, that's going to help us be a successful offense.
Man-to-man, one-on-one coverage because the safety rolls to Jefferson's side.
Jordan Love hit me up the night of the draft, just congratulating me, let me know it's time to work. A.J. Dillon was open arms.
Von Rock caught a ball with his thighs. We didn't even talk about that.
It was more of with his ass.
If he throws a good ball, this is a running, catching touchdown untouched.
Like, KP does like these flips after every win, and I'm like just waiting for him to do his flip.
To know that we still love each other, that's what football brings us.
Across the safety's face.
You can tune in anywhere that you guys follow us on social media. Welcome to the Practice Squad podcast, episode 084. Lots to talk about in the sports world this week, which you gotta love in April. We have for you today a mock draft. First round, every single team. Mark and I are going to talk through who we think the pick should be and who we assume they are going to roll with. So at least you're getting like kind of two sides of the commentary, pre-draft commentary here. It's April. Got the NFL draft in about 3 weeks in Detroit, Michigan, which is very exciting. I feel like Detroit is kind of clawing its way back up, no pun intended, with the sports teams, to being
Detroit's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a shit show down there, dude. It's going to be packed.
It's going to be insane. But I think what excites me, though, is Wings should be in the playoffs, but they found a way to choke that away, potentially. But they're in the hunt. Tigers off to a strong start. I mean, Pistons still absolutely stink. And obviously the Lions are just coming off of a deep playoff run. Man, if this is the sports talk around, all of our four major leagues, obviously some damn good college teams doing some winning too. It could be pretty cool because it's been about 20 years since Michigan's really had any significant claim to fame in the sports world. And so I don't know. To me, it's like hosting the draft is like symbolic in a way because of that.
It's like a coming to moment,
Exactly. And I don't know, that fires me up. And I sit around and have to think that there's a story and narrative to everything, but I do think that there's some legitimacy to that. Let me zoom in here real quick, just so this is a little bit better to see. It's not cutting anything off, is it? No, sir. All right, Mark, we got some mock drafting to do. I'm pretty fired up about it.
John's the mock draft freak, by the way. He's already done God knows how many he's already done. It's April 1st, by the way, and he was doing mock drafts mid-March.
Yeah, and
he's
honestly,
a mock draft addict. It's a problem.
It's better this year than it was last year. I've watched more mock drafts than I've made at this point.
Don't know what's worse, watching them or doing them.
That is going to exponentially increase in the next 3 weeks, though.
He's a psychopath.
So there is going to be some conversation around this, but we all know what's happening with the Bears at number one. They let go of Justin Fields. Yes.
Do we?
Yes, Mark. They are drafting Caleb Williams. I will literally film the next episode with mayonnaise on my face the entire time if it's not Caleb Williams at number one with the Chicago Bears.
I'm just going to say that I agree that that's what's going to happen, but I don't think that they should do that. I think that they should utilize the position they're in, a quarterback deep draft, some questions with Caleb Williams, some questions really with all the quarterbacks. There's no perfect prospect. I think they trade that first pick back a couple slots is what I would do. And I would get Drake May, I would get Jaden Daniels, or I would get JJ McCarthy. And I would let somebody else be super aggressive and go after that Caleb Williams. And I would go get one of these other guys that might be better than Caleb Williams as a pro. We don't know. Yeah. How often does the first pick actually pan out to be the best quarterback?
Yeah, I would say obviously there's a consensus, but that just because there's consensus does not mean the consensus is correct. And we have seen that several times. Justin Herbert was the best quarterback in his draft, arguably, but he wasn't picked first overall. However,
you could get incredible value for that pick because of the Caleb Williams hype.
Right. I mean, you could have Washington,
who knows? It's hype.
Trade a king's ransom just to move up one spot to get him. You don't.
That's what I'm saying. You don't think Washington and Cliff Kingsbury want his former player that he used to coach in college?
They
used to work with.
And there's conversations about who they're going to draft, knowing they're not going to get Caleb Williams. And so with that, I say You and I agree.
We
there's
agree on what's going to happen,
options.
but
but Caleb
if I'm in the
Williams
Bears, if I'm in the Bears draft room, I'm seriously talking about our options of what we could get. At least entertaining.
right, because
You know what I mean?
you could legitimately get 3 first-round picks for that easily.
That's the crazy part. Wouldn't you rather do that? Is Caleb Williams really going to be that good?
Probably.
Do we know that? You think he's going to be worth 3 first-round draft picks? Because in 3 years, you asked me that question. I guarantee you he's not worth 3 first-round draft picks.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think we're at that part of the cycle where everybody's psyching themselves out to some degree, where they're saying, is he really that guy that he's been showing on tape for 3 years? And I think people just get bored.
There's a lot of questions, dude. There's still a lot of questions about him, about all these guys. But
there's
questions surefire.
But who is you put all of their film together? Put all 4 of these major quarterbacks side by side? Who is by far and away the most promising prospect? Not saying he's a guaranteed.
I wouldn't say
NFL.
by far and away. I really wouldn't. I mean, I do think that he's right there. I have Drake May ahead of him, and I don't think I'm the only person out there that has other quarterbacks right there with him. He's got questions. These other guys have questions, but this guy is not like an Andrew Luck or, surefire guy. It's just not.
I don't know, man. It's so tough to know with any quarterback at this point. I mean, there was a bunch of
That's
debate around Joe Burrow.
That's what I'm saying.
Look how stupid the Joe Burrow debate looks in this day and age. You know what I mean?
Joe Burrow won a national championship and showed zero weakness for 15 weeks straight. 15 weeks straight, and checked every box off the field too. Caleb Williams has some questions with his character, how he is off the field. He's got an ego. He paints his fingernails. He's dramatic. He's selfish. He's done a lot of things to turn people away from him. And he's going to be under a lot of pressure, and we'll see how he handles that, because people are not going to be kind to him if he fails. And Chicago is a tough fan base, and this league is a tough fan base. So I don't know, man. I would definitely look at the option of trading that pick, move back 1 or 2 spots, still get a franchise quarterback with your first pick in the draft, and get incredible value to build around Drake May or JJ or Jaden or whoever you decide to take. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And but also don't forget, they also have the 9th pick in the draft.
I know. Could you imagine them having the 2nd, 7th, and 9th pick?
Right.
Or something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of thing that they could do. That's the kind of thing that they could do.
Could be. And maybe they'll get some calls that they'll sit there and think about it for a sec. But I assume more likely than not, they're just riding with Caleb. Otherwise, I don't think they would have traded Fields away, but who knows? Now, Washington, and I don't know about you, Mark, I think it is more likely that the Commanders draft Jaden Daniels than they do Drake May.
That's what it's looking like. I don't agree with it, but that is what it's looking like in the most mock drafts. And
there's 2 things that make me think that this is what's going to happen. One, Cliff Kingsbury, and I think that what type of quarterbacks has he coached? He's coached Kyler Murray. He's coached Caleb Williams.
Manziel.
You look at those profile. Sure, yeah, but if you look at those profile of quarterbacks, tall, lengthy, pocket passer, rocket of an arm, versus more athletic, more ability to use their feet, things like that. I think Cliff's system works a little bit better, especially with Daniels' arm. Second, and I think this is actually going to be the more critical piece, Washington's offensive line stinks. It's not good. And so you're going to benefit having a rookie quarterback that's a little bit better at improvising than Drake May potentially is. Not to say that Drake May can't move, but we saw Daniels just run all over the place last season. And the part that I like about Daniels in that situation is that's never his first instinct. He's always trying to get a pass off, but when he needs to scramble, he can fricking scramble. And so I think for those 2 reasons, Daniels is a better fit in Washington than Drake May.
I agree with you that that's what they're going to do, but I don't think that Jaden Daniels is a better fit or a better prospect.
I agree. I think Drake May is a better prospect than Jaden Daniels.
Drake May is very athletic as well. Can protect himself as well. I'm telling you, the more I watch him, the more similar he is to Justin Herbert. Like, he is the closest thing as a prospect we've seen to him since Justin Herbert was drafted a few years ago.
Totally.
And
people were psyching themselves out about Herbert that entire, right? I mean, I feel like it's history repeating where And who knows? I'm not saying that May is going to be Justin Herbert, but you look at the profile, the type of quarterback that he is, systems that he's capable of playing in, his ability to move, his ability to make reads. I think that you are right that is the proper quarterback to prospect, comp right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
But
go
I
Daniels
agree that
here.
they take Daniels. Yeah, I agree that they take Daniels. It's just 0 for 2 on what I would do.
Right.
0 for 2 on what I would do.
But what's interesting here with the Patriots now with Drake May is Drake May just had to go an entire season without any real weapons at receiver and still was a pretty dang productive, solid quarterback. And now we look at the Patriots who have no real weapons at receiver. So
Never have, man. Never
that's
have.
not a system fit, obviously. I'm not saying that not having bad receivers is a system, but at the same time, it's like, man, I think about what he just had to deal with for an entire year at North Carolina, and now here he is doing like the NFL version of that, basically. But I think that Washington, Daniels, Patriots, May is in my head what makes the most sense. We could obviously May could get drafted by the Commanders, and then Daniels gets drafted by the Patriots. Who knows for sure? But I think this is the way that the cookie crumbles on draft day. We'll see.
Don't be surprised also if JJ McCarthy sneaks somewhere in between those two. I'm not saying JJ is going to go second overall. I'm saying that if Jaden gets taken, don't be surprised if JJ is the third quarterback taken. And if not the third, I think he will be the fourth.
Yeah, and that's the question.
That's where it gets interesting.
Does Arizona stay put or trade down, or do the Chargers trade down? The Chargers, I think, want to trade down. I think for sure. It's just whether or not the Vikings decide to do a deal with Arizona or them. What's your thoughts?
I think that the Chargers are more likely to trade back.
I agree.
Just because of given Harbaugh's nature and he's, his ability to think that he can outsmart everybody and he does not do things by the book. Like he's going to move back and he's going to draft somebody that you did not expect the Chargers to draft. Like that's what he's going to do. You know what I mean? So also his connection with JJ McCarthy and his understanding of like, in a weird way, he would probably want JJ McCarthy to play for the Vikings. Right. So he's going to try to give him a favorable situation where like, hey, here you go. Right. Like an NFC team, you really don't have to worry about him, but it's a pretty damn good situation for a rookie quarterback to come into is the Minnesota. You have a great coordinator and head coach who's a quarterback friendly guy. And then you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Hawkinson. That is about as good of a quarterback situation to walk into as a rookie as there is. Plus you have some veteran leadership that can kind of guide you. Like you don't have to be a day one starter necessarily.
Yeah, that's why they signed Darnold, obviously, is
right.
Darnold kind of has become that guy where it's like, just like he's become this journeyman, but I think that people have their expectations tapered, obviously. And yeah, so okay, we'll have Cardinals staying put here. And
who do you think?
Marvin Harrison is who I think they take there.
I think that's who they take. But again,
Neighbors is on the board, right?
Neighbors is on the board.
Yep.
I have Neighbors as a better prospect at receiver than Marvin Harrison, and we did a full breakdown in our recent episodes. If you want to go back and look at that
Mark's not pulling that out of his ass.
I'm not pulling it out of my ass. I believe that for weeks now, and I believe it more strongly now than I did even last week, John. And I'll say this: Marvin Harrison Jr. Pro Day chose to not participate, questioning the competitive nature a little bit there. Like, I get sitting out the combine. I get maybe not doing some of the workouts that some of these other guys are doing. I get it. You've established yourself. You really can only hurt your stock, not rise it. But Malik Neighbors went out and had a ridiculous pro day and was talking to himself, talking trash, like saying all these things, competed with his other receiver, Brian Thomas, had a great day with Jaden Daniels, ran a great 40 time, which people didn't think he would run in the 4.3s, and he did. And he set the bar. And he basically said, Marvin, you're up. What are you going to do?
Right.
And Marvin Harrison chose to sit and do nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like and there's other guys that say like, well, he's only going to hurt his stock if he participates, and maybe he could get hurt.
I can't think of anybody that hurts their stock at a pro day too. Like
as a competitor, man, like it's a pro day is your situation. It's your thing. You pick who's throwing you the ball. You pick what routes you run. You pick the drills that you're going to do. You decide what you want to show these scouts.
Right.
And it's your last chance to cement, hey, what you saw me do on film for 3-4 years, that's who I am. Come watch it in person. Kelvin Johnson did a pro day. Larry Fitzgerald did a pro day. Okay. All these freaks in college that were guaranteed top 5 draft picks did their pro day.
Yeah. No,
I don't know who
I
you think
agree.
you are, but just because of that name and just because you had a good college career doesn't mean that you're just going to walk in like your shit doesn't stink and rock the NFL. Is he going to be a good player? Yeah. But again, another knock on him and another reason Malik Neighbors is rising in my charts and has been ahead of him, but now even more.
I think there's a reality in which the Cardinals do take Neighbors. Like, I'm not saying that that's improbable. I'm saying still right now the odds lean much more in favor of the Cardinals taking him at 4.
I agree, which is why we'll agree that that's what they do. But again,
Now,
that's 4 picks where I'm like, I would think about doing something different.
Totally. And as we get down the board here, man, I think the conversations will only increase with that. And maybe we start throwing some curveballs here. So at this point, I'm going to propose a trade. The Vikings
move up to 5 for the Chargers spot.
They trade, with the Chargers. They're going to, let's say, give them 11, 23, next year's 3rd. And
you think they give up that much?
I think so, totally. Whatever it takes to move into 5, I think is what they're doing.
I don't know if it's going to take that much, but
we'll see. Cool. Trades accepted. For sure, 11 and the 20. I think for sure, without a doubt, 11 and 23 are going to the Chargers.
Have to be given up.
Yeah. Which is great for the Chargers because they have their quarterback clearly. So how do you put pieces around him to be successful? With that pick,
here's what's interesting with this pick. I agree. I think it's JJ McCarthy, and I would take JJ McCarthy. However, don't think that Michael Penix isn't going to be in this conversation.
And I think Michael Penix is going to be a first-round quarterback, and we'll get to that.
Dude, he could be a top 10 quarterback. Michael Penix is. I mean, going
talk
into
about a pro day elevating your draft stock. By the way, I mean
ran a 4.40.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? And JJ McCarthy for most of this draft season was hated on, and all of a sudden it's flipped 180. Michael Penix, no one's talking about.
Peak lying season, man.
I'm telling you, he was the best quarterback in college football last year besides Jaden Daniels. He was the second best quarterback in college football. He had more success than any quarterback in college football besides JJ McCarthy. Right. So he's right there. He's right there with the stats and the skill, and then obviously the winning at Washington. Okay. He checks every box.
You get to this zone at 12 or 13. I think that's where he's going. I mean, I think Broncos and Ravens will need.
Yeah, I mean, and I could see one of those teams move up to try to, you know what I mean, to try to get him. We could see 6 quarterbacks taken.
Are at an interesting situation, but I don't think their need for a quarterback is going to be the move. I think that's Malik Neighbors all day.
See, I disagree here. John. I disagree. I actually could see the Giants. I actually could see the Giants moving up from 6 to draft Jaden Daniels. I could see him moving up with the Patriots or with the Cardinals. So I could 4 and 5. Like I know we already traded the 5th pick, but those 4th, 5th picks both are tradable. Totally. I would say even the Patriots, being who they are, would maybe even trade back a little bit, knowing that they could get JJ probably at 5 or 6 if they move back a couple spots. So look for the Giants to be aggressive and go for Jaden Daniels. I think they like Jaden Daniels.
I do have to taper though. Like I think quarterback fever kind of hits in these situations because we just think, man, like you can't have a team without a quarterback. But
it's true.
Which is very true. But when we actually see how it plays out on draft day, it's very rare that people are willing to make swings like that unless you're stupid like the Panthers did, right? Who could be selecting.
I will
Caleb
say
Williams
though, John,
right
when was the last time that we had a draft class this loaded at quarterback?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been years.
And
literally.
It's an interesting situation. But again, the Giants, they can't win with Daniel Jones. Okay. They just can't do it. And Tyrod Taylor is not a solution. And
the problem is they're stuck with Daniel Jones for another 2 years unless they want to have some unfavorable cap hits. And so there's always next year to have this conversation, I think. And who knows, right?
But does that GM and coach,
right?
That's the point, right? Again, it's win now. And if they draft a rookie quarterback and they're able to convince the front office to do this, it buys you time, right? Because then you could say, well, we had a rookie quarterback. He showed a lot of promising signs. Give us another year. Which is why I could see them taking JJ or Jaden Daniels, moving up to do so. Look out for that.
Yeah. Now, Malik Neighbors is on the board right now, though, and they suck at receiver. They are probably the
Right.
second worst, only to the Patriots at
Right.
that position. And
Yeah,
so,
and I'm praying that this doesn't happen because I want to see Neighbors go to a better situation. But yeah, they probably would take Malik Neighbors in this situation.
and then Tennessee, I don't know if there's too much discussion to have around this one, Mark. I think it's Joe Alt. I think they are locking Joe Alt. They have improved a lot in the interior offensive line. They have a guy that I don't know if he's the guy at quarterback, but he is a guy at quarterback that they are going to rock with for this year. They've improved their receiving core. And now, where do they suck on offense? At that tackle position. And Joe Alt is, you got to be careful how you use these words, but he is the most NFL ready tackle prospect of this draft.
Put it this way: who's the draft pick this year you would worry the least about?
It's got to be Joe Alt. I mean, truly,
right?
He's
so,
the Penei Sewell of
exactly.
Of
that's the comparison. The Lions fans and that team never worried when they took Penei Sewell.
Why
they
didn't
never
you swing on Justin Fields? Why didn't you swing on a receiver or whatever?
Never worried.
It turns out that Penei Sewell is going to be a starter in the NFL for 10 years. Don't have to lose.
And he's going to be he's going to be the highest paid tackle in 2 years. So
probably
you can never really, when you have a sure thing like that and you really believe in it, you can never count it as a bad decision. Really, you can't.
Now, this pick, I also think, the Falcons have blown a crazy number of picks on offense the past few years. And here they are sitting at 8 for the third year in a row. They just hired a defensive coach. And I learned today that they haven't had a double-digit sack edge rusher in like 6 years. To me, that's Dallas Turner. I think that's the guy. I think he's the first defensive player off of the board here at 8. What are your thoughts? The other option is a trade down. Who wants to trade up and who do they want at that position?
That's the thing, right? Denver, but do they have a lot of draft capital to do that? Not really. Right. And you can't really think of many other teams that would want to trade up. Also, at this point in the draft, who are you trading up for? And it would probably be Penix or Bo Nix. Right? Like that's what I would assume. I mean, are you trading up for someone other than a quarterback? That's another thing to decide.
Right. Which, I mean, who's generational as far as that goes? I mean, you got, Brock Bowers. I don't see anybody trading a significant amount of draft capital to draft a tight end in the top 10.
I could though. Brock Bowers is about as good of a tight end prospect as you'll find.
I could see Rome Odunze potentially because he's probably the last of the three, all right, this is a very interesting prospect at receiver. I could potentially see that. Other than that, nothing really shouts at me here. No one's going to trade up for a corner. I don't know if any of these other tackles are worth trading up for. That's going to get interesting with the Chargers at 11. There's some preview there. I think most likely they rock with Dallas Turner. By the way,
do you know who I would take over Dallas Turner, though?
Who?
Jared Verse from Florida State.
I think he's a stud too, but
I think he's the best defensive prospect in this draft. I really do. I have him ahead of Dallas Turner. Now, that doesn't mean that's what Atlanta's going to do. That's what I would do. But
so, the past 4 years, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year was a Pro Bowler the rookie year. So Dallas Turner, okay, if they think good odds this guy ends up being a Pro Bowler, we'll see. We'll take a flyer on him. We need edge rusher help. I do agree, though. I like Verse a lot, and I think he's going to fly off the board pretty quickly coming up here as well. Dallas Turner to the Falcons. Now, Chicago's an interesting situation. The receiving core isn't looking bad. Rome Odunze is on the board, but they might be getting calls from people.
They're going to, dude, I'm telling you, they're going to.
I don't know, man. They're going to be taking a lot of calls.
The Bears should be taking calls from now until draft night and on draft night. Because I'm telling you, the way they're holding their cards right now, they could make this team good for a very long time if they're smart. And it doesn't have to be Caleb Williams that does that for you. There's other options of how you can utilize their situation. It's a great position for the Bears to be in.
Let's just for fun here. Let's say the Raiders give them a call. They're interested in Penix. They want to hop the Broncos.
I don't think the Raiders are drafting quarterback.
Interesting. You think that Get Money Minshew's the guy for
Him
what?
and Aiden McConnell. I mean, or Hayden O'Connell. I don't know, dude.
Aiden O'Connell, yeah.
Aiden O'Connell showed some signs last year. You obviously went and got Minshew.
Well, so Broncos know the next 3 teams are not quarterback needy necessarily, so they're going to stay put most likely. If it's a quarterback that they can draft is already in their sights.
Here's what I'm thinking. Okay, I think that I really think there's only one player on this board that's generational where it's like worth to trade up for a top 10 pick, and that would be Brock Bowers. I really think he's the only one that anyone's going to like. Any team, I'm talking any team, San Francisco, Kansas City,
Right.
the Lions, it could be any team. Brock Bowers is a guy that you trade up for. That's like he is a once in a generation player at that position, and the tight end position is probably up there, top 3 most important positions in the NFL today. It's completely transformed offenses and how the game is played. So Brock Bowers is the best prospect on the board still. Do the Bears take him and now have 5 tight ends? Because they already have a great tight end room. I don't think they do.
Really good. Yeah, I don't think.
I don't think they take.
I think they're much more likely to target a receiver.
And I also don't see the Bears trading this pick. If anything, if they're going to trade back, it would be that first pick that they trade back for.
That's what you get the biggest haul for. Yeah.
Why would you do the 9th instead of the 1st if you're going to do it, right?
Right.
So I actually think that they probably would take Rome here in this situation, but
I think you're right.
I could see a lot of teams calling
Rome
to try to get
more
both Rome and Brock.
That would be crazy,
dude. The Bears are going to set themselves up to have a very if they draft the right
NFC North is going to be the best division in football next year. I think that's my perspective. I know it
depends how the Vikings are
diverging a bit from draft talk, but I mean, the Vikings aren't going to be bad. Like they're not.
Could be.
They were still on the bubble with their starting quarterback tearing his Achilles in week 6. Like
yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to say, but yeah, I think they probably would draft Rome.
Now, I think if that happened, Jets would be pissed because I don't think Jets are targeting a tackle any longer. I think that they shored up that position so that they can go get Aaron Rodgers another weapon.
Is anyone going to go get David Bakhtiari?
I mean, maybe the Jets.
Why would they not? He's already gotten paid. You know what I mean? Like he's gotten his money. Why not go play with your boy for a couple more years, right off into the sunset with Aaron Rodgers and try to chase a ring? You know,
so. The Jets just released what's his name? Ozma. So I think
they have Conk.
They're
pretty confident in him.
They are, but I think
they would draft Bowers.
They want receiving firepower, and you can get receiving firepower that also has blocking ability. I think Bowers. If Bowers is here for them at 10, I think that's who they go with over a tackle in the situation. Give Aaron Rodgers another weapon. Maturity, NFL ready, and a lot of developing going on. I mean, they're Super Bowl or bust right now. I think the best way to do that is to, they already spent free agency making sure Aaron Rodgers is protected. They went and just traded for an edge rusher that's pretty competent. Why not give Aaron Rodgers another weapon? And again, if Rome Odunze's there at 10, that's who they're taking for sure, in my opinion. But Brock Bowers, generational tight end, your guy for a long time. Him opposite of Conk. I mean, that's a crazy tight end room right there.
I really could see the Bears skipping on Rome and taking maybe like a Jared Verse or somebody, like an added pass rusher to an already good defense.
Totally.
And maybe that's what happens, and then the Jets take Rome. I don't really see the Jets taking Brock Bowers, to be honest with you. They have a defensive head coach. They're in a win now mode. And I don't know if Brock Bowers is I could see him going offensive line. I could see him going Brian Thomas ahead of Brock Bowers, getting another receiver because again they have Conk. You know what I mean? I could see him going even quarterback maybe,
potentially,
and doing like what the Jordan Love move, getting the next guy to come in. Now I get that they're in win now mode, and they're probably not going to draft a guy because those coaches are going to be fired long before that guy ever plays if they don't win next year. But again, let's keep it
interesting, and we'll grab a Brian Thomas or something right now because I agree. I'm making a case for Brock Bowers. I don't think that's what's going to happen though. If anything, I mean, they like I said, they might trade up with that Bears pick just so that they can get a receiver. I'm not sure. The Bears are significantly less receiver needy. They would probably take the draft capital. But let's go Brian Thomas here. Jets reach in this version of the draft to add
Listen,
some
Brian
firepower
Thomas
for
is a
Rodgers.
stud.
He's a good
He's a
receiver.
stud.
But Brian Thomas at 10, I don't totally foresee that happening. Chargers are back on the clock. And to
This
me,
is where things get crazy.
I think it's Talise Fuaga. Think Harbaugh. Think what they need offensive line. Jim Harbaugh is their coach, and you have the best power run, ground and pound, asshole tackle to come in and put on your offensive line. I think this is what Harbaugh wants out of a tackle prospect. Like everything Harbaugh.
I cannot disagree with you. I can't. You're spot on. Like that's what he does. That's what he wants. That's what he's going to build his team around. That's what's going to make the Chargers get back to winning. They're going to run the ball first. They're going to help Herbert out. They're not going to lean on Herbert's cannon to win games. They're going to win games because they run the ball and then throw off of their run success.
So Michael Penix is still on the board. The Broncos are here at 12. However, you just said that the Raiders probably aren't going to go for a quarterback here at 13. The Saints probably aren't. Colts definitely aren't. Seahawks, maybe, probably not. Jags are not. Bengals are not. Next guy's Rams, potentially. Do the Broncos trade back here if they can afford to and feel like they can still grab a quarterback? I don't think the Broncos are trying to grab their franchise quarterback right now. I really don't. I don't know what their solution is.
You don't think Sean Payton wants his franchise quarterback? I think he does.
I don't know, man.
A lot of people would say Bo Nix here. A lot of people would say that Bo Nix is ahead of Penix. I do not agree.
Totally disagree with that.
I mean, dude, there's some other quarterbacks out there that are going to fall in this draft too, like a Spencer Rattler, like a Sam Hartman. Like these guys are going to fall.
So that's the question. Are the Broncos in the market for who's left at QB? Which again, I think the best guy in this bubble that we're talking about is Penix at 12. Is that their move?
I don't know if they take Penix at 12, but they
saying.
definitely do want to take a quarterback. I also don't think they're going to take a defensive player, knowing Sean Payton.
No, it's going to be offensive.
Do they take a Brock Bowers? He's the best available.
He is. I like that. Let's roll with it. The Broncos at 12 take generational tight end prospect.
Sean Payton's not dumb enough to pass on somebody like that. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's a special player.
Now, when's the Broncos' next pick is the question.
Ooh, that's a good question. And I don't know if I can see easily because I just went with first round. Let me see what the Broncos draft haul is. Broncos.
Because if they don't have another pick,
I could see them trading back into the first. I mean, we know that they don't have a lot of capital because of their Russell Wilson trade. Yeah, their next pick is round 3. But again, I don't love the idea that they're super stubborn on getting a quarterback. I really don't. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Round 3 is a while, though, man. That's a long time to sit and wait and hope that one of those quarterbacks is
But
still
again,
alive.
I don't know if you're in the position to try to force that to happen because you don't have the draft capital to screw up that pick with, right? Let's say they're trading away even more of their future and Penix isn't the guy, right? I'd rather rock with, a Brock Bowers who is going to go all of his rookie contract as your tight end and you're not really going to have to sleep it or lose any sleep over it. Now here at the Raiders, there's really 2 areas that I think they're going to try to address at this pick. It's going to be, in my opinion, either a tackle or Tyrion Arnold sitting right there at cornerback, and they need cornerback help. What are your thoughts?
I feel like they're going to go defense. I feel like Antonio Pierce is a defensive-minded dude. It's hard for me to see them not going with a DB or an edge rusher. And they already have stud edge rushers.
Yeah, and they spent big money getting a defensive tackle too. So I think they're more probably focused on shoring up their secondary. And so I don't know. I feel like Arnold might be the guy there. I mean,
It's Arnold or it's Quinion Mitchell.
I
I
like
guess
Mitchell a lot too.
it comes down to who you think is the better defensive back prospect. I feel like they would have Mitchell ahead of Arnold.
Mm-hmm. You can go Mitchell here. I like that.
That's what I think they would do.
Boom. Saints. I think Olu Fashanu is probably the guy for the Saints. For those that aren't aware, Ramchick is probably going to miss next season, and Trevor Penning has been below average as a tackle for them. And so I think they need to address this position more than anything else over again. They're probably going to bump Trevor Penning over, or maybe they just keep Fashanu at left. I'm not sure, but I think this is the guy they end up rolling with. Other potential
Troy, I like
is
Troy Fatano.
And the nice part about Fatano is you can move him inside if you need to.
He's
it's not going to
a little
happen
bit more. I feel like he's a little bit more of a safe pick.
He's a safer pick, I'd say. Yeah,
like the upside, obviously, I would say Fashanu, but I feel like they go with Fatano.
I don't hate that idea, and so let's grab him. Now, Colts need a corner. They were in the conversation for Snead. It didn't happen. Arnold's still on the board. By surprise, Mitchell gets selected before him. I feel like you got to go Arnold here if you're the Colts. Get that defense beefed up a little bit. You made some decent moves in free agency on the offensive side of things. Still hoping Anthony Richardson is the guy. If not, it's Joe Flacco. Let's get some cornerback help.
I think you're right, but just for the record of where I think Cooper DeJean is much higher than a lot of these corners. And if he weren't white, he probably would be the top or second rated corner in this
One
draft.
Of the best.
I'm just calling it how it is as a college player. He put it on film of what he is, and I think it's bullshit what's happening to him. If I'm any team up here that's thinking about corner, I'm looking at him legitimately. And I'm not saying that he's the best. I'm not saying he's a sure thing that he's the best. And I'm not saying that he's going to get drafted high. But if I'm the Colts and I'm looking at a corner, or if I'm the Raiders and I'm looking at a corner, I'm considering him over Mitchell, over Arnold.
He's looking at him. I think
so.
You also don't want to be the GM that misses on a white corner, right?
Right, and it's bullshit. It really is. Bullshit. But
it stinks. But at the same time, I think he's still going to be a low first round, high second round pick at worst. And so
he should be a top here. He should be a top 20 pick. And if he's not, I mean, it's not hard to figure out why. And he'll prove people wrong. I mean, there's people saying that he can't play corner in the league. Like, dude, he just played corner in college football and covered Marvin Harrison Jr. and some like the best receivers that you can ask to cover, and did a pretty damn good job,
Seahawks are in a precarious situation because I think really the main thing they need to address is interior offensive line. You can make an argument for defensive line too. Jared Verse is right there, so you could roll with him. But I think if you want to go,
the fact that he's fell this far is insane.
I think it's the most likely thing to happen unless, I mean,
you think Jared Verse is going to fall? I feel like Jared Verse is going to go in the top 10 somehow, one way or another. He's a stud. To see that.
He's super good. I don't disagree with you on where his talent's at. I think that it's just the teams that are defensive needy are more corner needy than they are edge needy. Colts could go Jared Verse right there at 15. But you know what? He falls in the Seahawks' lap. They need some edge rusher help. They wouldn't mind that. Why not?
Best defensive player in the draft. Take him.
Yeah, grab him.
At 16, steal.
Easy. Jags. Shawnu's still on the board. Could see that. Their edge rush situation's in an okay spot because they were able to retain Josh Allen. I could see them going tackle here, continuing to try to beef up the line for Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, that's most likely. I also could see Peterson wanting to go get another receiver.
I could. I think he might target that in the second round, though. And the reason being is because you look at some of these receivers, are they, 17th overall pick, or are they late round first and, or early second? I think it's more likely the latter. So let's go, Shano. I mean, you got, a very promising tackle prospect that could be a full-time left tackle starter for you, with a pretty high ceiling too. I mean, has the frame and the technicality for it. Bengals are interesting. I don't know what they're going to do here, truly. It says their needs defensive tackle, wide receiver. I mean, what you're able
not going
to
to draft a wide receiver.
I was going to say you retain your receiving core for the most part, at least for this year. So it's not an immediate need that you need to solve. I mean, I could see them just
They're not going to take one at 18.
They're not going to take one at 18. I mean, could be interesting is Johnny Newton. Make your beef up your defensive line after losing Reader with a guy that's considered a pretty promising prospect at defensive tackle. Byron Murphy out of Texas could also be interesting in that same vein. Or you beef up the offensive line more. I think those are the three most likely things to go here. Is one of these offensive linemen, Newton or Murphy? What's
yeah? I mean, I think the biggest void, right, that they have to fill is that Reader. Right. Yeah. Reader leaving it's a big deal. He was why you were good against the run the last few years. So I feel like Byron Murphy is the pick.
I agree with that. And Murphy and Newton are different defensive tackles. I mean, Newton is more in the frame of like a true run stopper nose tackle. Murphy's really good in the run, but he's a little bit leaner. You can probably put him more comfortably at like 3 tech and other things like that too. And so I think Murphy might be the better fit right now. It's interesting because, Newton's still there and the Rams just lost Aaron Donald. Now, is Newton the type of pass rusher that Aaron Donald is? Absolutely not. But he's a freaking stud right there, smack dab in the middle of your defensive line. He's going to demand double teams. He's a great run stopper and he frees up your, we'll call them average edge rushers to, be able to have a little less pressure on them. Just probably have to win their battles with their tackles on a more regular clip. I think Johnny Newton might go to the Rams. What's your thoughts?
Man,
other guys. Chop
Robinson's a guy that I have my hands. I could see him. He's a. They want to get a pass rush, right? Because
do you want a pass rush or do you want a run stop? That's right. What are you trying to replace? You're never going to replace Aaron Donald. Which part of Aaron Donald's game do you think?
What gets you there quicker, right? What helps you recover quicker? I feel like someone like a Chop Robinson helps you get there quicker, or a Latu. Two really promising prospects. Sean McVay is an offensive guy, though, but he's also understands the needs of the team, and I think their offense was not a problem last year.
No, they were
defense at times was right. I feel like they go with UCLA, man. I mean, keep him home. Yeah, keep him in LA.
Let's go Latu.
Let's go Latu. Yep.
Steelers.
Latu.
I think this is a Mims or a Latham is what this shouts to me.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers
need offensive line help.
The Steelers
they
need
help everywhere. But
I could also see a Cooper DeJean.
Do they need safety help right now?
That's the question. The question is he going to play safety or is he going to play corner? Because the thing is he can do it all.
Yeah, he can do either.
And I know that Mike Tomlin loves his DBs and loves to have savvy defensive backs that can beat you into trap coverage and get interceptions. And, obviously.
Honestly, I see him in maybe it's just the Iowa colors.
It's a good fit. It's a good fit, but I don't think they'll do it because, they drafted a DB early last year and he's panned out for him. I think they probably go Latham.
I think so too.
I could see him going Latham.
I'm not, and we've been over this. I am way higher on Latham than I think most people are. I mean, Mims
got a bad rap because of the performance against Michigan.
But again, I mean, I thought it was the other side of the offensive line that was folding more. Obviously, Latham, the biggest play is where he screwed up, but more often than not, the offensive line was buckling on the other side of him. So let's go Latham here. Now, Dolphins, also just lost Wilkins. I mean, Johnny Newton's there. Your other option, though, is beef up your interior offensive line. Jackson Powers-Johnson is on the board. Generational interior offensive line prospect, I think. I think he's an absolute stud.
You also need secondary help.
You do also need secondary help. But I mean, you got Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
You got stars on a lot of different plays. They're one of these teams that have so many needs to address, but they kind of remind me of the Rams a couple years ago. A lot of needs to address, but they have superstars at positions that kind of like keep them in that bubble no matter what.
I'm gonna say some crazy stuff, John, but like if you're put yourself in the mind frame of Mike McDaniel for a second and how he is, and you've seen how he interacts with people and how he carries himself and the kind of team that he wants to build. Can't you see him going and trying to get like a speedy weapon, another added receiver, just another toy to play with? Can't you see him going Xavier Worthy? Can't you see him going Xavier Worthy or a Keon Coleman or a Donnie Mitchell?
I think out of the guys you just mentioned, Worthy is the most likely. I think
they have Hill and Waddle. I think they want to get like another speedy big receiver. I think it would be like a Donnie Mitchell or Keon Coleman. Now, that's early to draft those guys, but they're great players. And I'm just thinking of like what, McDaniel wants to do and
dude,
type of offense they want to be.
Line help, though.
They do.
And Jackson Powers Johnson is one of the best pass protectors at his respective position.
It's a question of the logical thing or the thing that like the shiny toy that can he help himself?
I could see it happening. I legitimately can. Don't get me wrong.
Because those are weapons that he could create a lot of creative plays for, and get the ball in space. I mean, you can't double all those dudes. So who are you gonna put on Worthy if you double Tyreek?
Right.
Who are you gonna put on Waddle if you try to take Worthy off? Take him out of the play. What are you gonna do?
What do you want to do here?
Be the fastest show on turf, without a doubt. It already was last year. I think we do
down.
Double down, something crazy.
Makes it more fun. I could see it happening. Eagles, then, they just lost a guy by the name of Jason Kelsey, and they need to replace him. I feel like Jackson Powers. I think Roseman would be sprinting to get that up there. Jackson Powers Johnson. And now Chargers are back on the clock. Well, they just got a tackle. They got Khalil Mack and Bosa for another year, both of them. But that might be it. I know
what this pick's going to be.
They're either going receiver here or they're going Chop Robinson, in my opinion.
I think they're going Cooper DeJean. I think they're going Cooper DeJean.
But
Harbaugh coached against him. He coached against him. He saw him firsthand, the kind of player he is. Harbaugh is you got to remember who Harbaugh is. He doesn't look at the board. He doesn't look at what else is out. He likes his things. He's like it's kind of like the Holmes and Dan Campbell way of doing things.
Right.
They want their fit for
their
culture
guys
that
for
he's
their
building.
System. Yeah.
And Cooper DeJean is a Harbaugh culture guy. And the Chargers need help in the secondary.
I like your argument. And I think you're reaching at any receiver you try to take here. Like I don't think it's I don't know.
I feel like Mitchell. I could see Mitchell here being that's 23. Not surprised if he goes there.
Sure, but still, I don't think Harbaugh's all jacked up about getting a receiver, even though they need one. I can.
They need one.
But I can see him waiting to address.
Listen,
that.
he loves Herbert, and you know what Herbert's going to want. You know what I mean? And the reason he chose the Chargers is Justin Herbert. Like that's the thing that made him want to come over there and try to turn this team around. I could see Cooper DeJean. I could see him going receiver, and if he goes receiver at this point, I think he goes with Mitchell.
I think that's the most likely. You want to grab Mitchell then? Give Herbert a weapon since he literally had all of them shipped off in free agency. Let's do that. Cowboys, I think they're grabbing Amarius Mims here. That they are offensive line needy. That's not a pick they can really afford to screw up right now. I think they also draft a receiver somewhere in this draft, but I think right now most immediate need, get yourself a tackle. Mims has his issues, but I don't think they can afford to keep their offensive line in the shape that it's currently in. They got to draft a tackle here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Green Bay's always weird because
you never know what they're going to do.
No, they're snorting a line before they're making the
call. They don't need receiver help.
Yep,
they're
good.
They have their quarterback. They have their running backs. Their offensive line was solid. Their defense improved
Any
But
offensive lineman you're grabbing here is more in the reach territory. All the good ones have been taken off of the board at this point, pretty much.
you do need to replace the DB room, especially at safety. You think they go to Jean and move him to safety?
I could see that.
I want a
happening.
team to take him as a corner. I want a team to play him as a corner.
Yeah, but I think you're
And
right that he's going to get drafted with the intention of like a safety or a nickel.
it's
kind
just
of
a race thing.
situation.
It's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're probably right. I mean, they have him listed in most mock drafts as a safety. It's crazy.
He's a corner. He played corner all year.
One of the best corners all his career. He was a corner.
Yeah.
He was one of the best corners in football.
I could
And
see
we're gonna
him
move him to
as much
safety.
as I was
Why?
going to say, as much as I could see him playing for the Steelers, I can equally see him playing for Green
Playing
Bay.
for the Packers.
That seems like a quirky Packers pick. They love drafting Iowa guys. Let's make it happen here. We got Cooper DeJean to the Packers. Go Pack, go. Now Tampa, you know who's getting a little long in the tooth is their generational nose tackle. Johnny Newton's right there. They also just lost a standout cornerback. Nate Wiggins and Kool-Aid McKinstry are both on the
I
board.
see them going Wiggins or McKinstry, probably McKinstry ahead of Wiggins.
I agree with that.
I could also see him going Chop Robinson though.
Yeah, I think if they're addressing defensive line, though, they're addressing interior, especially if Johnny Newton's sitting there. So you're not super high on Newton. What's the vibe?
I'm not super high on. I'm just not super high on interior linemen going ahead of edge,
Fair enough.
especially early in the draft. Like early in the draft, interior linemen, like you have to be an absolute star for me to take you.
You have to be a Jalen Carter over. Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? It's just like, and it's not like a demanding need for them because they have Vita Vea still, right? And he's not like, I know he's towards the end of his career, but they are a playoff team that won a playoff game last year. Like they're in win.
And honestly, Vea was just as good as he's always been.
Just as good. He's always been good. So I think they would go Chop here or McKinstry.
Let's do McKinstry. A lot of corners flying off the board, but I just think people are not very high on this edge rusher class in general. And that's not to discredit Chop. I just think that really you have probably two guys that people are considering true first round edge rush prospects, and those guys obviously are already gone by this point. Cardinals back on the board. This is what the Texans pick. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. How about some edge rusher help though? Maybe they go Chop. They need it.
Yeah, if Chop's still there, again, the fact that he's falling all the way down there, I could also see him going with a receiver.
Even after grabbing Marvin Harrison, you think they might go receiver again? I could see that.
Yeah.
But I think edge. Okay, you got your generational wide receiver. Why not try to add some edge rush help on the other side of things too? Their defense needs help. They're already offensive line's not in a bad spot. Improve the receiver core. You got a good running back. Edge rusher.
Pass rush feels like the next thing of it. Yeah, I would say probably Chop.
Bills are weird because their needs list could be basically every position that isn't quarterback.
Yeah.
They're hurting in a lot of different spots. I mean, I could see them just basically going best player available. However, Keon Coleman's sitting right there. For some reason,
that would excite.
I see a lot of people. I was gonna say I see a lot of people mocking him to Buffalo. A lot. Their offensive line's hanging in there, so maybe we can, dodge that one until next draft. Johnny Newton again runs their defense also needs help, and their secondary got blown to pieces this offseason. I mean, they lost so many guys.
I could see him going with Guyton out of Oklahoma. I could see him going with Barton out of Duke. I could see him going with Keon Coleman.
Not Nate Wiggins.
I don't think they draft a corner. No. You got to think the Bills are thinking about, okay, how can we beat Kansas City, right? Like that's their what is the quickest way to taking down? You go right to the top. Wait, Kansas City is the standard, right? They're the team to beat. What do we got to do to beat that team? We've won the division several years. We can't get over this hump.
Can't beat
of
them.
beating Mahomes. What do we need to do? They're either going to go another pass rusher to try to just throw everything at Mahomes, or they got to be able to score with Mahomes.
I like
And their run game's been a problem, so I could see him going O-line, but they did it last year. So do they swing on another weapon for Josh because he doesn't have a ton of them anymore?
Dude, I just for whatever reason I see him in Bill's colors. Like I just do, and
he's
it's
a
been that way for a
sweet
while.
fit. He's a sweet fit.
Oh yeah, him
All right,
on the other
Keon
side
Coleman.
of Diggs. Let's do it.
That's if
All
they don't
right.
trade Diggs.
Lions on the clock. I could see Holmes liking Newton, but you short up that problem with Reader, where if you're not just head over heels in love with him, I don't know why you'd do it. Wiggins is there. I don't see Brad Holmes swinging on a corner though either, even though it's a position of need.
I mean, position of need is corner, right? And another edge.
Oh, hold on. No. You know, if he's here at 29, you know who I think they're going? Zach Frazier out of West Virginia.
You really think they're going to go?
Yes, he's
ahead of their other needs.
He's interior offensive line number 2 behind Jackson Powers Johnson, in my opinion. He's the best looking center prospect. Frank Ragnow is getting old. They want to keep their strength a strength, and he's a Dan Campbell guy. Like I just think that might be the move. To me, if he's here at 29, because I don't agree with him being 43 in the consensus.
Can you go back to the receivers? I want to just look at.
You got Ladd.
A lot of people were talking about Xavier Legette.
I could see Legette, but you can get Legette with your second round pick, I think.
I don't think you can.
Dude,
he's going to go ahead of a lot of those other guys.
Could trade up to get him, though. Holmes is aggressive when he wants his guys in the draft. He'll do what he's got to do to go grab them.
Go to DBs. I just want to see what just kind of the fall off.
I mean, TJ Tampa's not bad, but and then after that, the drop off is ridiculous. I mean, I don't think
it's a tough spot because I feel like Detroit just ran out of like those like Keon Coleman would be such a sweet fit, and like DeJean and McKinstry and those guys would be such a sweet fit, and they'd like chop Robinson if he falls that far, like so close to getting like the piece that you need, you know.
Yeah, but that's the best part, I think, is they're in a position to just take who the best player ends up being at this spot. And I just like Zach Frazier, man. I think if he's here at 29, I don't know. Let's go back to just the total rankings. I don't think Johnny Newton's somebody they're grabbing.
Not with Reader signing. Yeah, I think they probably just go their best available for the fits that they are looking for.
And by the way, Mark and I are probably going to be dead wrong about this because who the hell has ever picked what the Lions are doing right the past?
I wouldn't be surprised if they move up and get aggressive in like a weird way in the draft. Like
to grab maybe a corner they like or a receiver they like. I could totally see that happening. But let's go Zach Frazier. I could just see that happening. A lot of people are high on Graham Barton. I am not. Frankly, I might be kind of upset if they end up picking him. However, I said the same thing about Sam Laporta, and I was dead wrong about that. So obviously comparing an offensive line pick to a tight end pick, who the hell knows what my evaluations are for tight end versus being a previous offensive lineman. I just see red flags with Barton. Those red flags might go away if you move him to the interior, though. I think a lot of his problems are just him playing tackle, and I don't think he's an NFL tackle, and I think he knows that. So Baltimore. Johnny Newton's right there still. Your receiving core still in good shape. Offensive line's fine. I could not, honestly, I don't imagine a reality where Johnny Newton's still here at this point in the draft. I think if Baltimore sees it, no edge rushers left for you to take that are graded above him. Positions in need. I mean,
I could see him going offensive line though, man.
Also that I could for sure, but that's a Graham Barton. That's a Kingsley Suamiata.
What about Tyler Guyton?
I don't love Guyton, but I think Pro Football Network is ranking him a little higher than he should be. They could go for it. Check Lamar. Obviously, you want to establish the run as much as possible. Now you got Derrick Henry back there too.
You're going to see a much more run-heavy Baltimore team than we've even seen before, dude. Like, there's no stopping that.
Dude,
Derrick
Lamar
Henry and Lamar running option. If they run some true option football, it's and
Gonna
then
be
they're going to hit play action with guys like Zay Flowers and one-on-one coverage. It's going to be tough to stop that offense.
I agree.
And I think that they're going to try to embrace what they just did, and that's they
Let's go.
They went and got Derrick Henry. You don't think they're going to draft someone that pairs with that?
Yeah, let's go Graham Barton here. Like I said, I'm not super high on him, but I'm hearing the opposite by a lot of evaluators that get paid a lot more money and spend a lot more time evaluating people. So maybe I'm the one that's stupid. I'm willing to admit that. I feel like 49ers go Nate Wiggins here. I think they're pretty
I can see
cornerback
that.
maybe.
I can see that.
I'm going to go ahead and take Nate Wiggins. Surprisingly quiet free agency for them in a good way. I thought that they would start bleeding a lot of their weapons, and they didn't.
Yeah. People don't want to leave a team that's on the cusp of a Super Bowl, I suppose.
I mean, that's fair enough, for sure. And then Kansas City at 32.
Receiver. And a lot of people had Xavier Worthy. We obviously went a little crazy and said that he would go earlier than people suspect. I do think that the Chiefs will end up taking Xavier Worthy if he's there.
Lad McConkey's here, though.
I think that the Chiefs are smarter than to just take the next guy on this PFF list. They're going to look into it, and they took Rashee Rice last year, and it ended up being a good fit for them schematically. Obviously, off the field some issues maybe this week. Yeah, I see them going with like a Malachi Corley, a Jalen Polk, or an Xavier Legette. One of those three. Polk or Legette seems.
Polk, honestly,
I really like him. I really do too, but I think that Legette has more upside.
Let's go Legette.
Yeah, because they're looking for that guy to replace like the Nicole Tyreek speedy guy that always has to be a part of their offense.
Yep. There you go. That's our board. So look, we'll probably run another one of these just because I'm an addict and I am probably going to run one of these every single day for the next 3 weeks. So you have that to look forward to. But that is our mock draft. Let us know what you think we did was stupid or unrealistic or whatever. We only had one trade here. I think the trade that is almost for sure going to happen. Vikings showed their hand. They want to trade up for a quarterback. I think they like.
I expect more trades. I will say, we didn't do a ton of them, but I think there's teams that are going to trade.
Totally. Yeah, we had a lot of teams staying put, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, truly, I think though, like picks 1 through like 8 or 9 here, like if I were a betting man, I think this is truly how that board's going to shake out. And then obviously things are naturally just going to get weirder and weirder as things move on. But I think we stayed within the realm of possibility and didn't get too reachy with it. Well, we got a bunch of NFL talk that you should probably go check out. Mock draft.
Bunch of draft prep stuff that's coming. A bunch of stuff that's already started happening. Quarterbacks, receivers, O-line breakdowns are out there. Go check them out. We're going to do a ton of draft stuff during the draft, post-draft rankings, grading. All that stuff's coming, guys. We did a lot of it last year and had a lot of fun with it. We're going to do the same thing this year. Draft season is upon us. You know, spring football is here in college, spring football in the UFL, draft season, pro days, all that stuff's happening. And then obviously we got a little bit of March Madness going on as well.
Yes,
Masters is coming up. So there's cool stuff going on, guys. And we appreciate you if you're listening to us. We'll try to talk about as much as we can and keep popping out content for you guys.
Yes, sir. We will see you guys very soon with more stuff leading up to this draft. Draft season rocks. Best thing we have going for us other than the in-season football. So we're definitely going to be taking advantage of it, making the most of it. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
See you guys.